I think right now is the perfect time to talk about Mason Mount. Currently, he is one of the most divisive, polarizing players at this football club for the past few years, as well as being polarizing in the Premier League too. On one hand, some people feel like the non-stop adoration that Mount receives is too extreme. And equally on the other side, some people feel like the never-ending criticism that Mount receives is also equally extreme. Where is the balance? What is the real perspective? In today's video, I want to use this as an opportunity to address a few different talking points. Number one, is the criticism fair? How is Mount's season going? Does Mount need to be sold? And most importantly, what is a Mason Mount? I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. You guys know that I'm about perspective and I try to use my platform responsibly. So I hope you guys equally engage with today's video, but most importantly, share your thoughts and opinions. You don't have to agree with this video, but share your thoughts and opinions so we can all understand you a lot better. Let's now start with things. Now to start with things, let's address the criticism. Is the criticism fair? I think this is a yes and no answer, but let's focus on the real criticism, the football criticism, and the reality simply is Mason Mount is not the finished article or the complete player. I feel like these are a few areas in his game that he has to improve upon to hopefully go to that next level. Number one, I think his final balls can be a bit predictable at times, and I think his crossing can be a bit predictable. At this moment, sometimes I get like Aaron Lennon impressions. At this point in time, I do get like Aaron Lennon impressions, if you guys understand what I mean by that, where he was criticized under Harry Redknapp for playing these really nice looking crosses inside the box that were never helpful for his teammates. And I think what Mount does is he prefers to hit the ball at pace when he's crossing into a dangerous area instead of picking up a man instead. And I do feel like Mount does have a good selection of technique in his game where he should have the accuracy to play more better balls. At the same time too, I think his decision making can definitely improve a lot more. I think at times he can either panic a bit too much, he either quickly releases a ball way too longer, or he releases it a bit too slow. He needs to add more composure to his game. He was showing this composure previously, especially when he won the Champions League, but at the same time, equally, this is a systemic issue in the squads because Mason Mount is not the only one that fails to play the final ball or gets the final action right for the team. Some people also feel like maybe Mount should be out the team a bit to get like a mental refresh. And actually, I do understand that point of thinking. I do think at times right now, I am getting a sense of like mental fatigue in Mason Mount. And I feel like when you're combining these factors, this is creating a little bit of a dip in his form and a dip in his season. Now, these are criticisms that I can accept very happily, but these are the criticisms I cannot accept. Criticism now is not criticism, it is hate, it is vitriol, it's abuse, it's a non-stop, it is abuse, it's non-stop complaints. I feel like Mason Mount has his own individual standards at this football club that every other player does not have. If Mason Mount is bad in a game, his game is shit. If Mason Mount is mid in a game, his game is bad. And if Mason Mount is good in a game, his game is mid. It simply is not an equal platform for conversation. It's different rules for Mason Mount. I mean, constantly on Twitter, I see Mount trending like crazy, getting tens of thousands of tweets around his name on a weekly basis. I see it all the time. It is not normal that this one player gets this amount of attention and focus. And I think the thing that really bugs me is that there seems to be this conflation behind what criticism actually means. I feel like certain people conflate criticism for insults. Because I think to some people, if you are in a position where you should be criticized, it means that you deserve to be insulted. Now, you guys who are watching this can decide for yourselves where you fall in this category, but I'm sorry, I do not see this level of attention and focus apply consistently throughout the rest of the players in this team. Now, of course, there is abuse towards certain players like your Jorginhos, your Covers, Keppers. There's been many examples, but the reality simply is none of it eclipses anything that Mason Mount has faced over the past few years. People, keep things real and be honest with yourselves. Stop conflating. People can see past it and they can smell the BS. And I actually think one of the main reasons behind why Mount gets this unnatural amount of attention around him is that no one really knows what a Mason Mount is. So what the hell is a Mason Mount? To start with things, let's address how his season has been going first. Now, in 27 appearances, he has got 3 goals and he's made 6 assists, with 4 assists coming in our Champions League group stage. So basically that's like 9 goal contributions, and that's like a goal involvement every 3 games. He's won 2 Man of the Match awards, and using Opta stats, it seems like his average statistical rating for the season so far is around 6.78, which means that he ranks in the top 10 of player ratings for this season out of the squads. Now, I'm not going to celebrate that. There's nothing to get gassed or excited for, but equally at the same time, it's not necessarily the worst thing imaginable that you've ever seen. Now, this season, Mount's played in 5 different positions. He's played as an attacking mid, he's played on the left, on the right, he's played in the midfield as well too, and played in deeper positions as well too. This is kind of the story of Mason Mount. Over the seasons, he averages around 4 different positions played throughout a season, and that's something I'll touch upon as this video is going on. Now, one of the main things behind Mount's game is that managers appreciate his versatility. When you break down his game, there are certain attributes that managers focus towards due to the balance it brings to the team. And of course, all of us really know that it's the off the ball work, and it's the defensive work and pressing as well too. And I think he definitely pays a price for his versatility, which is actually kind of mad to say. And I think the main reason is that there is a common misunderstanding between position and role. For example, you could have a number 10 behind your striker, but his role could be completely different. He could be playing more off the striker to play as like a second striker. He could play as a more advanced playmaker. He could play as that orchestrator in front of a midfield as well too. Or he can play as an attacking mids. The roles vary depending on the demands of the manager. So just because a player is in a certain position doesn't mean we should be expecting a certain type of performance to come from him. And I say this because when I see a lot of the criticism that Mount receives, I see a lot of comments about his poor playmaking. I see criticism behind the fact that he doesn't control the game. There is a conflation between what an attacking playmaker is compared to an attacking midfield player. Now, playmakers are tasked with carrying the ball a lot more. They'll drift, drop deeper, and look to come towards the ball, not away from the ball. They will drop deeper to find the holes and pockets. They will play risky passes all the time. And one way to tell if a team is using a playmaker in their team is the fact that players will play the ball more towards them, because it's up to the playmaker to try and unlock the opposition defense. Mount is not used as a playmaker because he does not have playmaking capabilities. He is not a young David Silva regen or a Mata regen. He is not that type of player. Instead, Mount is used as an attacking midfield player, and attacking mids operate higher up the field. They make runs off the ball. They make runs into the spaces to help create overloads against the opposition. And when they attack, it's about creating chances for themselves and for their teammates. I feel like I have to say this because over the years on Twitter, you would feel like Mount has sole creative license in this team, where he has full responsibility for all things creativity, which is far from reality. So the question now is, what is Mason Mount's real role in the team? What is his best position? And that simply is, he is a number 8. And I'll discuss this part of his game and why this is his best position and why this is his best role in the team as this video goes on. But I think right now we need to have a look at the stats from FBREF to get an idea of how Mount is performing when he is playing as an attacking mid for the team. But I think right now I want to turn towards FBREF to get an idea of the stats that Mount is producing playing across all these different positions. Now, my only fear for Mount this season is that he is seen as Mr. Versatile. He is seen as a guy that you put to fix little tactical holes in the team, which doesn't necessarily allow him to elevate his game and to improve as a player. But before I talk about what Mason Mount really is, let's have a look at the FBREF stats to see how he's performing playing in a more attacking mid position. Now, I'm using FBREF because they get their stats from Opta, and that's as official as stats can get if you're citing them from Opta. As we can see here, judging him against other attacking mids and wingers, he has kind of regressed since last season. As we can see here, not ranking in the 90th percentiles for any major offensive bits of play. I mean, for example, assists, 83rd percentile, it's a bit average, for like a top 4 level. At a top 4 level, you want a bit more. That's the reality for me though. Things like shot creating actions, things like passes attempted. Of course, he ranks high for things like tackles, which is no surprise, but examining the stats break down in even more detail. As we can see right here, Lots of 73rd percentiles in terms of passing, passes completed, the distances of his passes as well too, and even things like key passes when he's playing in a more advanced attacking position. The only thing that he really ranks high for really is his defensive aptitude, and that's exactly what he's in the team for. It's no surprise that he ranks very high for things like tackles in the mid third and in the attacking third. That's why Tuchel played him there. That's why Graham Potter turned towards him when attacking players are injured and out the team, and that's what he's kind of been doing with Conor Gallagher as well too, and I don't want to see Gallagher going down the same route. So right here, when you see these types of stats, it is maybe just above average. It's not amazing. It's not lighting the world on fire. But what is interesting though is that if we compare him against midfield players, it's an incredible difference. You guys are seeing it on screen for yourselves, yeah? As you can see, the amount of rankings in the 90th percentile are ridiculous for things like assists when he's playing against midfield players, for things like shot creating actions, for things like non-penalty expected goals, expected assists, pass types, touches in the attacking box, progressive passes being received, which is telling you that he's finding great positions to influence the game with. And this gives you a lot more of a real account behind what Mason Mount actually does. I mean, you're seeing it for yourselves on screen, my friends, what his stat breakdown is when he is compared against other midfield players. And then you can see what makes him special. And hopefully that can show some of you why a lot of people still have a lot of regards for Mason Mount. I mean, look at things like the shot creating actions. For me, that's important for a midfield player. He's ranking 94th percentile for shot creating actions, passes live, passes from dead balls, from shots as well too. He has a real presence when he's in midfield. Look at things like possession as well too, touches in the attacking third round, the pen books. As I said before, progressive passes received, his crosses as well too, 93rd percentile. You know, it's no surprise because he gets many assists from crosses throughout a season. You're seeing a completely different player. And I think right now is the time for me to discuss what Mason Mount really is. Now, I alluded to this in yesterday's video, but at 24 years old, Mount needs to play in one set position to get the very best out of his game. For too long now, as I said earlier, he is plugging tactical shape holes in the team to the detriment of his self-development. You can't build momentum or consistency if in every single game you're playing in a new role and in a new position. How many players that go to the next level are playing 5 different positions and roles throughout a season? It doesn't happen. And my fear is that he doesn't improve because his versatility is preferred more compared to finding a role for him to excel in. And I feel like we're seeing similar patterns now with Conor Gallagher, who has played in multiple positions and roles throughout the season as well. The issue that many of our players have faced, the thing that has really affected our attacking patterns and threat over the past 2 seasons, is the fact that the team has been catered towards the system over the individuals. As long as the system is tight and compact and players know their roles and their instructions, because, you know, we rely upon a lot of automatisms in the sense that players are drilled and coached to do certain things at certain times in the field, that doesn't allow you to express yourself or to improve your individual game. And I feel like this is the reason why many young players here, not only Mount, but Kai, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, a lot of them other than Reece James, the only anomaly, and that's purely based on the fact that he was the only one allowed the license to really attack because he was played more as a wingback, and that helps his game go to the next level. For everyone else though, they never had that, and it still feels like I'm seeing a lot of issues from a lot of these guys in the team that should have been fine-tuned already now that they're hitting ages like 24 years old. What is Mount's best position? Mason Mount is a number 8. Mason Mount should be playing deeper to influence midfield and influence the game. He links the defense and the attack. He plays the balls between the lines to find the more creative offensive players. Mount plays accurate switch balls to quicken the pace of a game and to change the direction of how we attack as well too. Mount's main offensive weapons are his intelligent movement and his great striking technique. He is good when he's taking shots outside the box or making those late arrivals inside the box too. Mount can counter press and he can defend dropping back into his own half, and he is a dead ball specialist. This guy is amazing from set pieces and has created many goals from us due to that great dead ball ability. Remember the FBREF stats I showed you? That was for his performances in midfield throughout the year, and he hasn't played that many games in midfield. This season he's played 7 in midfield, and last season He also played 7 games as well too. In the space of 14 games, we're seeing what this guy's real game is really about, and Mount is the guy that you want in the second phase of the game, supplying your new look Chelsea attack. Now, the reason why I personally rate him highly and I rate his potential is the fact that I've always known this guy's a midfield player because I've been watching him since he was 16 years old back in Cobham. I've been watching him for that long. I've seen what he can do. And I think what makes him special as a midfield player is that he has those added sprinkles of the fact that he can hold the ball in tight areas. He can play further up the field if he needs to. His dribbling is not elite at all, but he can skin a man. He can beat a man. And when you're adding all these little trinkets of his game, playing as an attacking mid, towards his real game as a number 8, you can see why he's highly rated by so many in the game, because he isn't your standard number 8 midfield player. He has that little bit extra. As I said, he's played 14 games in 1 whole year in his best position, and he's played countless games on the right, on the left. We've even seen him play as a false 9 at times during his time at this football club. He can't be solely judged playing his secondary and tertiary positions. It's just not accurate. And I feel like this confusion around Mount, because, you know, to some people he is like a jack of all trades, master of none, is what adds to this frustration around Mason Mount. There's this constant feeling of expectancy and more needed from him, and when that doesn't come, the automatic response is criticism. I mean, if he can't do it in this position, why is he playing there? Why are we not using other attacking players who are equally suffering because they aren't playing there? Speak to your manager, my guy. That's not the player's fault. There has been a conversation around the fact that should Mount be sold? He's asking for 300,000 a week, yet his season has gone downhill. I mean, who the hell does he think he is? I think this is a very unfair argument. Number one, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself if you really are making sure you believe that he is asking for 300,000 a week. The reality is, if you're following this football club, that Todd Boehly gives performance-related contracts. That is the rule here. It means you receive a base fee plus the potential to earn more if you hit bonuses in games. So for the sake of argument, even if Mount wanted 300,000 a week, he would not be receiving that money each week. He'd have to play the game of his life throughout the entirety of a whole season of his 60 games if he wanted to earn around 300,000 a week. So let's not use that bullshit argument, because this is where you're letting your personal feelings towards Mount cloud your better judgment and your fairness. Is Mount's future at risk though, now that we've signed guys like Felix, we've got Nkunku coming, Mudryk's here, etc, etc? Absolutely not. I'm hoping that Graham Potter will be playing him in his best position. There's a reason why we're turning towards 4-3-3. And if you wanted someone that's going to combine with your fullback and your new attacking winger, that's going to bring the press, that can bring some goal threat, that regularly gets goals and assists per season, you want a Mount in your midfield 3 to bring some balance to the team, especially knowing the fact that he can play with great football players. That's how you build a great team. But I have to end things by saying I honestly, truly feel like some of the vitriol and hate is absolutely disgusting, and it's a massive disgrace. You know, let's not pretend that players don't see what's being said about them. And I don't understand this active willingness to kill a player's confidence and form. I thought in his post-match interview, this guy looked incredibly deflated. And I just don't think that's right. For a guy that's been here since he was 8 years old, coming from the academy, and one of the hardest things to do is come from the academy and break into this team as well too. He's done so much for us. His assists helped us win the Champions League. And you've got fools out there telling you that he meant to take a shot instead, because this is hate. This is not criticism. You need to be honest with yourselves if you have such harsh views on Mason Mount, because you're doing a disservice not only to the player, but also to your football understanding and knowledge, because it's always being misguided. And I think it's an absolute disgrace that a fan base can have this much attention and hate sent towards a player that is one of us. And I don't care about all the Yerda arguments and all the really poor bullshit excuses that get created where you break these petty arguments down and there's not much to come from that. I'm getting sick and tired. I understand the criticism around him. I also agree with that, but I keep it to the football. Some of you guys make this a personal thing, and you're almost creating an online persona just so you can create content around hating Mason Mount. And I think when it's reaching this level of extremes, people have to start looking at themselves, and people have to start showing support for the players we have here. Social media is not just a bit of games. It's a platform that can bring opportunity. It's a platform where you can't really connect with the players, because football today, when I was a kid, yeah, going to Stamford Bridge, I'd go to the Centenary Hall, and after the game, I would meet guys like Ashley Cole, Drogba, Ballack, Paulo Ferreira, Ricardo Carvalho, all these guys outside happily taking photos and doing their bit. And it doesn't exist like that anymore. And I do feel like this is an area where fans take some accountability, because we also create the divides within our club ourselves. So honestly, that's what I have to say about Mason Mount. I feel like I need to start doing more videos like this. You know, sometimes I'm on Twitter, I'll react to what people are tweeting, but I'm not really giving my full insight and opinions of things. You guys who watch, you know, I'm about balance. I look at both sides and I see what both sides are saying, but I also see the bullshit behind what both sides say. And I try to find the balance of what really is the matter and what really is the issue. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Share your thoughts and opinions. I'm EFC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll see you guys later with some more videos. Cool.